Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Bella says good morning. We were just doing a little chair dance here. Good morning. Good morning. Look, no, it's not the original. I bought a new one. Needed to fill up that space. All righty. Oh, excuse me. So sorry. Um, Listen, who do we have today? We have here right now, at this very moment, we have Cindy King. Good morning, Cindy. And we have Judy Binderman. Good morning, Judy. Judy, where are you from? Barb. Good morning, Barb. Gail, that you? It's good to see you. Oh, Woody's here. Woody's in the house. Woody, yay. And oh, look at this. Judy is from Queen Creek, Arizona. Well, welcome. And Rusty Nails and Twisted Threads. I kind of like that name. Oh, Letty just got here. Good morning. Good morning. Bella says good morning. I say good morning. Everybody, good morning. So, what are we doing today? We're going to talk about lettering. I know I've talked about lettering before. Even this type, the same kind. Oh, Jesse. Good morning, Jesse. Good morning, Jesse. It's so good to see all of you. So we're going to talk about lettering. I know I've talked about lettering before, specifically even this type of lettering, but the question keeps coming up. So I feel, if there are new people out there that have the same question, it's worth repeating. And of course, it's not going to be an exact repeat because, I never remember exactly what I do before. So we just start all new. Um, So here, let me get started. I even wrote myself a little script. Don't know if I'll stick to it, but I did write it up. So here we go. When your customer comes to you and says they want to stitch a name on their hat, what's your next question? How big? What letter style? What color? Of these three, the color is the easiest answer for your customer. They want red. Yeah, right. They want red. So your next question is what shade of red? There are hundreds of reds. How do you get them to decide? Well, you pull out your reds and you let them pick. Well, what if you have 50 shades of red? Well, you're going to pull out a couple of dark, a couple of mediums, and a couple of light threads. And you're going to do this because even though you've got hundreds of them, they're not going to be able to decide. Um, they are, it's going to be overwhelming. Well, the same holds true for lettering. How many of you know currently, and I just Googled this, approximately how many font families, and that a font family is the style of font, and then it's the alterations. There's the bold, the thin, the italics, the swirled. How many do you think there are? You're gonna be surprised. Well, maybe not. There are, and again, like I said, this was as of my Google search yesterday. The same is true, but by hundreds. Letty, you're thinking small numbers. We need big numbers. Four. Cindy says there's four. Judy says there's 200. Judy, you're on the right track if you put the word thousand after that. There are 300,000 font families. And a font family can include multiple fonts. So let's just say the font family has an average of three fonts in its family. That's over 900,000 fonts. Let's just round it up. Let's just call it 1 million. 1 million fonts. Now, granted, you're not going to find every font in embroidery. Not every font is suitable for embroidery. But are you going to give your customer 300,000 fonts to look at, to decide? And that's just today. You are exactly right. You are exactly right because new fonts are being developed by artists every day. Letty says 300 font families. No wonder what the font is so needed. What the font, for those of you who don't know, what the font is, a font search engine. Um, you can put a style of lettering in there. You can search for different styles. And yes, you're right. If you are if you are looking for a font yourself, you can use what the font. And you're right. I am not going to give my customers 300 fonts to choose from. No, no, no. You go into the grocery store and you want to buy, okay, something, something new, something. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Just something that's there down, just something that's there that they have like 300 different offerings of. How do you decide which one to take home with you? Okay, so you, the provider of service, need to simplify this for them, the customer of service. And Barb is right. You're going to break it down. You're going to break it down and you're going to just offer them an assortment. And then you're going to provide samples. And that's what we're talking about today. Okay, so my offering, I, in my sample work here, I have some block fonts and some script, um, some serif. Do you guys know what the difference is between sans serif and serif? Sans mean not. Serifs are those little jutted out points at the at the ends of letters. Um, we'll show you some serifs here later. Sans serifs means they're not. They don't have those little edges that jot out. And then I offer up something that I call like a wacky font. Just means something other than a script, other than a sans serif, other than a block font. Let's see what Cindy's got here. Most of my work is custom, so logo is digitized from their or our artwork. But when somebody needs a name, I give them a very limited selection. And you're right. If you're digitizing or creating a file from somebody's specific logo, you cannot deviate from that font, not without permission. That's like somebody saying, um, listen, I know that you want your hair color to be red, but I can't find that red, so I'm going to use this pink. No, you can't do that. You have to have their permission. Oh, Judy. Judy, she considers herself a font whore, even for printed graphic stuff. If I can't decide what I want, how can I expect somebody else to? I know, but you have to. You have to. So, so yeah, wacky type font, and that would include things like your college fonts and your uh, trending. What was that font that was so? There's Samantha. She was really trending. She was a fancy script with all kind of glyphs and such that go with it. Um, Monograms could fall in that category. Of course, it could be a separate category. But I usually offer 6 types of that particular style, 6 different fonts. So, how do I decide what I'm going to use? Well, I'm going to do some test work and see what stitches well. I'm going to go through my fonts, and I am talking about those that come with my software or I have added to my software. Um, and then I'm going to test those that I want to maybe use and see how they stitch. If I'm happy with the way they stitch, they can go on the list of possibilities for offerings. Just remember, not every font is going to be suitable. And then and then I also present them in different sizes. We all know, we all know that the customer's going to come to us and say, I want it to be 1 inch tall. Do they have any clue how wide their lettering is going to be at 1 inch tall? Hold on, I forgot to do something, but it won't take but a minute. Forgot to share my screen. We're going to share the entire screen. Here we go. And here we go. So they have no idea how big 1 inch, a 1 inch font is. Yes, Cindy, you're right. And the fabric type. You're going to want to know an idea of what the fabric type is. And yes, a lot of this is going to come, a lot of this knowledge is going to come with experience. So practice different fabrics. Okay, so here is a block font that is 1 inch tall. Let's take this and, if the name is Jeff, that's not too bad. That 1 inch tall is only 2.5 inches wide. So it's only about it's only about that wide. But what if their name is, oh, yeah, I have one of those names, Ramona. Yeah, now it's 5 inches. 5 inches. Ruler, 5 inches. 5 inches. And what if Samantha Samantha is, sorry, got a little, is over 6 inches. You're going to put that on somebody's left chest? You can't even put a 1 inch letter, a name on a hat. Let's see. Woody's got something here. I was thinking about taking all my ESA fonts and doing all the letters and numbers in a size range, doing a printout of each and putting it in a binder for them to choose. That is a good idea. The only problem is if you have 200 ESA fonts, you got that same issue of being overwhelmed. And maybe, depending on where those ESA fonts came from, some may work and some may not work. Cindy is saying, then you can run into the issue of say names. They want them all the same size. Try Joe, Joe and Sindel. Yeah. And they want them 1 inch tall. Okay, so that's not going to work. So you need to offer them up sizes, and they need to be able to see this. And how many of you have heard somebody say, "But I'm a visual learner. I can't see it in my head." Well, that's where you're going to come in and provide them samples. Bella's going to say goodbye. I need two hands now. She says thank you for letting her join. Going to take a sip of my coffee here using my coffee and conversation coffee mug today. Yep. Am I the only one who's drinking coffee here in our coffee and conversations? Just off the top of my head. Okay, so on the screen here, you see that I have laid out a couple of samplers. What you can't see because it's too light is the outline. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and Pepsi. Yeah, Jesse, I used to be a soda in the morning kind of girl. Not so much anymore. Cindy, Cindy, what time is it there in Texas? You're eating potato salad and iced tea. I guess, breakfast of champions. And then you get Letty saying, and then you get the ones who look at the sample say, go, oh, but I want this to be this color instead. Well, then you just assure them this is just a sample. 10:16. Letty's drinking iced tea. Um, you just tell them this is a sample. Your color is going to be in something else. Who else? We got somebody. Scott. Scott. And you have coffee. Yay for the coffee. Okay, so this line that you see here, that is wide, left to right, by 10 tall, top to bottom. And I used that as a template um, because ultimately, after I stitch these out, I'm going to put them in one of those sleeve protectors. So I need to make sure that it's going to fit 11 and a half by 8 inches, or is it 8.5 by 11 inches? Whatever the sheet protector is. Um, and I'm going to stitch it out. Oops. What am I doing here? There we go. There we go. And I'm going to stitch it out. Now, you see only two of the samplings here. I suppose I can bring up the other file. That's the wrong place. Here we go. Here we go. Opening, opening, opening. I did 4 of these for you. So, block, script, serif, and wacky. Now, there's only 2 on a page because remember, we're trying to do multiple sizes. And if you haven't caught it yet, I wrote cancel. Come on, people. There we are. I used the name of the font in the sampler. I know, Cindy. Customers, they can't visualize anymore. And I think, I don't know about you guys, but I'm one of those baby boomers that was raised in front of the TV. Only not always. Um We were not allowed to watch TV until after 6 p.m. After 6, because my dad had to watch the nightly news. And then, of course, we had early bed. But we were outside playing. So there, imagination. You got to see things in your head. People can't do that anymore. So I made 4 pages. Oh, Cindy was saying people get cut because they see the sew out on stabilizer or backing, and they want to know if it's going to have a white background. Oh, Judy, it is being recorded. You can find it on YouTube at Quick to Stitch. Tell hubby we say hello. So, oh, Jesse wants to know the best way. We're gonna go off script here for a moment. And Jesse, if you want to load a DST file or any machine file into your Wilcom software, I use this little icon right here that you really can't see. And what it does is it opens up my files and allows me to pick the file. I do not want that. I want all files, all files. Why are we not getting her files? Cancel. Insert. All files. Fernando? I have no idea why it's not letting me do this, but here, we're gonna take this in a different direction. I'm going to open a client's folder here, and then I'm just going to pull. I have my window open off to the side where the file is located. I'm going to click on that file, and I am going to drag it to the desktop. This is a DST file. Okay, does that help? All right, Gusta, good morning. Good morning. So yeah, let's go back to our fonts. Let me get back up here. Look, Gusta, we're talking about creating samplers for our customers to see, because they have no idea how many fonts are out there. Over 300,000. Okay, so I created, in this case, 4 pages. And each page has the lettering in a different size. As you can see, some of those take up more space than others. There's the scripts. Now, of course, this is just a sampling of scripts that I know. Now, I ran this on twill. It's a very tightly woven twill. It's the same type of twill I use for patches. It's very stiff. And I left the stabilizer on the back, because it's supportive. You can use just a muslin fabric. Again, use your stabilizer however you would normally. If the majority of your fabrics that you stitch are polo knit, use polo knit for your samplers. What else have we got here? Oh, these are serifs. See the little the little pointy bits. Yeah. And the block files, those are sans serifs. They have no pointy bits. Okay. So, no. Now in this case, I only got 2 on each page, and I'm going to offer up 6. So I'll have 3 pages for each font style. And then, this is my wacky one. This one is called Enchantment. Do you see how long that is? That's the whole length. That's all of it. Can you imagine somebody come along and say, put that on a hat for me at 1 inch tall? And my name is Enchantment. It's not going to fit. Not going to fit. And of course, the ever popular college file. All right. But listen, maybe they picked out the font they want. Yeah, I want that Garmin font. Yeah, that one looks nice. Can you do it? I think that 3/4 of an inch will work. I want it on my left chest. You and I both know that's not going to work. We know that's not going to work. But how are we going to tell them? How are we going to communicate to them visually the size of that lettering compared to the size of their garment? So I had a brainstorm while I was sitting there watching these stitch. Yeah, I was doing other things at the same time, but I was just kind of sitting in the same neighborhood watching them stitch. Look at this. Now, again, I did it on using the 12, did not put a backing on them. I did put a satin stitch around so as to keep the edges. Look at this. Yeah, this is a 1/4 inch font. This one is a 1/2 inch. And they can put that up and see, oh yeah, that's going to be too big. Maybe it'll work, on the front, but that's going to be too big. So ultimately, what I'm trying to say here is you need to restrict their options to whatever you're comfortable with, because you don't want them sitting there in your shop for a week trying to decide what letter style they want or what color they want. Remember, you're going to offer up just a small assortment of colors as well. Badge style. Yep, that's exactly right. Um, and you're going to show them their offerings stitched out. And from those options, they can make their selection. Now, I know we pretty much talked about, on a garment, lettering, um, for on a garment. But what about a hat? A hat is a whole different animal. Yeah. A hat has a hat needs to be legible. The lettering needs to be legible at a distance. Okay? A hat, people are trying to communicate a message on their hat, whether it be just just a smiley face, happy, smile, or their logo. They're trying to communicate something on the hat. And a lot of times there's lettering involved. Well, if you go too small, nobody's going to be able to read it. You go too large, it's not going to fit. And how many letters, how many character spaces are available to you on the front of that hat? Well, again, with the sampler. All right. Now, I used this hat. This sample was created at the beginning of COVID. And if you all remember, COVID had uh, instead of handshake distance, which is about 3 feet, it was social distance, which is 6 feet. So it's still relatively it's still it's still a functional sample. But what this sample does, is it uses the lettering, and we're just counting characters here. It uses the lettering, and it tells you how many spaces you have available at the front of the hat. So you put your hat on, peace, yeah, oh, and I stand back. Here, I know we're on video here. Can you tell me which one you can read legibly, clearly? Which one you would be comfortable with? Granted, as we come forward, you can see more. But each one of these tells you the numbers on the side there, tells you the size of the font in millimeters. So that top one is 9 millimeters tall, and there is space for 17 characters. That includes spaces, 17 characters. The very bottom one is a 5 millimeter font, and it has space for 30 characters. It's still legible, but maybe not so much at social distancing. Not going to be able to read it very well at social distancing. So maybe you have something else to help identify your message. Oh, Letty, sounds like you need to go see the eye doctor. She's saying that she can read the quick to stitch, but not the hat. Okay, so that's what I want to communicate today. You need to restrict the options. Your customers are going to go crazy uh, trying to pick from everything that's available. So restrict the options. Something that you're comfortable with. Six. Six is always a good number for me. Maybe you want to offer up 12. Maybe you just make a list of, 12. Um, you want to help them see what they can't see in their heads, what they can't visualize. I have a client that forever sends me text files all the time. Um, Forever is saying they want it 1 inch tall. Well, 1 inch tall, it's 14 inches wide. Oh, I don't have a hoop that big. All right. So tell me how wide you want it, and I'll make it tall to fit. Um, so samples. Create your samples. Limit the options. Create the samples, and help them see. It's going to make your life easier when your customers come in and say, I need you to write a name. I need you to stitch a name out for me. Um, I'm going to catch up. Cindy and Jesse are going through some stuff before, and I saw a video where somebody brought it in a special way. I have to bring in this for years. I've had issues with Judy's designs. It was a button that has to be turned off. Oh, okay. So Jesse and Cindy are going to work this out for themselves. Jesse's having some issues pulling in DST files, and Cindy has an idea how that might be fixed. And I've got a dog over here pulling stabilizer out of the crash. Oh, Cindy, thank you. She's going to send me the information. What do we got here? Scott, she's saying good looking hat stitch out. I like that you show what is a 5 millimeter. I don't like going smaller than 5 millimeter either. I am so not, especially, especially on a hat. Now, okay, guys, maybe I don't always test stitch on a hat that has a center seam. Can you imagine trying to put this little 5 millimeter letter N in the seam, the center seam of a hat? The 5 millimeter is going to be hard enough. But what if they want a 4 millimeter letter? Oh, I know. I have a bunch of 112s in my stash for testing. They can be monstrously difficult when you're putting tiny text in that small space. Um, and then there's the whole legibility thing. Or left panel. You know, I have a left panel sample. It's out there somewhere. Maybe we'll talk about that again sometime. But I'm going to go off on a tangent here for just a moment. Um, and then, Chris, I'll get to your question in just a moment. Um, Now I forgot my tangent. You know, and that's why this is called Coffee and Conversation, because we're just having a conversation. It's real casual, and I'll forget things. So let me go back to. Um, we'll just pick up with Chris. Do you reduce the spacing for script fonts so they overlap where it looks appropriate? Yes, Chris. It's called kerning. Let's see. Let me see if I can find it. Okay. We're going to go up here to Brittany. When this letter when this was first typed out, it was all spaced apart, and I used the software to adjust where it needs to go. Oh, Gail, you're wonderful. Thank you. I thought, I'm sitting there at my machine. She's saying that she loves the idea of the key ring for the font sizes. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, this is good. This is good. Oh, this is better. And there we are. And Cindy, you can't see me? Can't see your screen? I'm here. Cindy's wanting to know what my upcoming show schedule is. I am I am teaching at two events this year. At Everything Embroidery Market in the kerning. Oh my God. You are so right. Next up for just a moment, Chris. Oh, look. So Brittany here was all spread out, and I used my software to move and adjust the lettering. That is kerning. You don't want to trust you don't want to trust how the software brings it in, because it may not, it uses parameters that are set at the time the font was created or was digitized, and it may not work right. Okay, let's go ahead and finish up. um, Cindy wants me to tell you guys where I'm going to be at Everything Embroidery Market. I am teaching 3 classes. I am teaching a class on hooping, the hard to hoop. um, without buying specialized equipment. We're going to use just the machine hoops. I'm also teaching basic machine maintenance for both a home flatbed machine and a multi-needle machine. And I'm teaching a class on putting together your own YouTube content. Now, at Applique Getaway, the end of June, I'm scheduled to teach two classes. I'm hoping they'll be back to back. Beginning freestanding lace, how to digitize and do freestanding lace, and then advance three freestanding lace. So you got the beginning that'll get you started, and the advance for when you're ready for something more challenging. So with all of that, I don't have anything planned for next week, but we'll come up with something. I'll watch the questions. I'll see what's going on. Um, and we'll be back next week. All right. I want to thank all of you for being here. I'm going to go get my goodbye video. You ready? Here we go. Wasn't that fun? Do you have more questions? Do you want to learn something new? Join me at quicktostitch.com for coffee and conversation, and we'll talk about it. Embroidery machines, designs, and business. Hope to see you soon. Bye now.